Hello, everyone. I'm Amber, and I'd like to share a story about my mother-in-law's behavior toward me and how I handled the situation. My mother-in-law, Patricia, has always been quite curious about my inheritance. Since I married her son, Raymond, she's frequently asked, "Amber, when will you receive your inheritance? I heard it's around $35 million. Just think of the luxurious life we could have with that kind of money. It's taking forever to process, isn't it?" Her persistent inquiries revealed her keen interest in my finances. Initially, I naively shared details about my inheritance, a decision I now regret. Following that, Patricia became overly friendly and her constant questioning began to wear on me. My husband, Raymond, and my father-in-law, Gary, would often reprimand her. "Patricia, you need to stop bothering Amber about her inheritance," they'd say. "It's irrelevant when or if she receives it. It's none of our business." Raymond even pointed out, "Mom, you're being incredibly rude and irritating to Amber. We're doing well financially and even supporting you and Dad. What more could you possibly want?" Yet Patricia continued to dream aloud of a more extravagant lifestyle, suggesting we could move from our current home into a mansion. Her fixation on my finances was evident. In an attempt to shift the conversation, I joked, "Who knows if I'll ever receive that inheritance? The process is complicated, and for all you know, I might have made the whole thing up." Everyone laughed at my remark. Everyone except Patricia, who shot me a stern look, clearly upset. After that incident, Patricia's attitude toward me changed drastically. She became openly hostile and insulting, revealing her greed and how deeply my words had affected her. Her behavior escalated, showcasing a surprising level of animosity once she realized I might not be as wealthy as she had imagined. A turning point came one day while Raymond and Gary were away. I found myself alone with Patricia in the kitchen, where she regarded me with disdain. With an air of urgency, she demanded that I follow her to her room, signaling the start of an unexpected and challenging confrontation. "We need to talk in private," she insisted, and her insistence only piqued my curiosity while making me uneasy. A thought flickered through my mind, connecting her urgency to a potential postnuptial agreement. Though I wasn't entirely sure why that notion lingered, I was determined not to be left in the dark. I followed her into her room, and to my surprise, Patricia locked the door behind us. Gripping the keys tightly, she demanded, "Amber, you're staying in here until you sign these papers." I was taken aback, struggling to understand her motives and the severity of her actions. With an intensity that left me uneasy, Patricia explained that she wanted me to sign a post-nuptial agreement prepared by a lawyer. This document was designed to ensure that I would have no financial claims against Raymond in the event of a divorce. I was stunned and couldn't fathom why she would assume that Raymond and I would ever part ways. Despite my protests and disbelief at her insinuations, Patricia remained unyielding, insisting that she had everything under control and implying that she would play a significant role in our future. Reluctantly, I began to read the document, curious about its stipulations and the extent of its demands. The agreement was strict, stating that in the event of a divorce, neither Raymond nor I would have any financial claims on each other, effectively denying alimony and any division of assets. This meant we could only retain what was individually in our names. The terms were shocking and ignited a wave of anger within me. I confronted Patricia, questioning the necessity and suddenness of such a document. We had never discussed any prenuptial or postnuptial agreement before, and her actions seemed to suggest deeper issues and intentions. This situation had escalated far beyond simple family dynamics, revealing a complex web of motives and potential conflicts. Patricia's true colors emerged as she confessed that she had initially welcomed me to the family under the assumption that I would inherit $35 million, which would eliminate the need for a prenuptial agreement for her son. Now, she accused me of lying and called me a gold digger, claiming I was a financial burden to Raymond. She insisted I sign the prenup to protect his assets, all while plotting our separation. It became painfully clear that Patricia's silence about a prenup all these years stemmed from her hope of benefiting from my supposed inheritance. Upon discovering that the inheritance might be a mirage, she aimed to strip me of any future claims to Raymond's assets. Her manipulative plan was evident: to fabricate a narrative or create a scenario that would push Raymond toward divorce, favoring a wealthier match to secure a luxurious life for her family. Patricia's disdain was palpable as she insisted that Raymond deserved better than to marry someone without a significant inheritance, completely disregarding the love and bond we shared. Her vision was clouded by greed, seeing me only as an obstacle to her fanciful lifestyle. Her words, a mixture of fury and revelation, struck me deeply. I had always felt an underlying tension between Raymond, Gary, and Patricia, but her blatant greed and disregard for the sanctity of our marriage were shocking. This encounter revealed her willingness to sacrifice her son's happiness for material gain, a realization that only deepened my gratitude for having no inheritance to tie me to her expectations. Determined not to let Patricia's manipulations dictate my choices, I stood firm against signing the post-nuptial agreement she waved in front of me. If Raymond believed such an agreement was necessary, I insisted it should be a mutual decision made with proper legal counsel, not a unilateral demand from his mother. I was resolute, fully aware that she might try to keep me from leaving without acquiescing, but I was prepared to confront her, armed with the truth and the integrity of my relationship with Raymond. Patricia seemed to revel in the control she wielded over me, reminding me that Raymond and Gary wouldn't return from their fishing trip for a while. She leveraged my work responsibilities against me, knowing I was desperate to return to my duties. Frustrated, I demanded the keys, eager to escape her grasp. But then, she escalated the situation, painfully grabbing my hand and hurling cruel accusations at me, calling me a gold digger among other insults. My anxiety soared as her grip tightened and her screams filled the air, drowning out my boss's persistent calls for my return to work. Feeling trapped and overwhelmed by Patricia's intimidation and the pressure of my pending responsibilities, I reluctantly signed the document she presented, watching her satisfied smirk grow wider. As soon as she released me, I dashed from the room the moment she unlocked the door, locking myself in another room to find solace and safety. Once alone, I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart and process what had just happened. I reached out to my boss and explained the ordeal with Patricia. She was incredibly understanding and supportive, appalled by Patricia's behavior. She kindly offered me the day off to recover from the distressing incident. Determined to document the physical evidence of Patricia's aggression, I photographed the bruises on my arm, stark reminders of how far she would go. As I reflected on her actions, my frustration and anger mounted. I knew she needed to face consequences for her behavior. Rather than disturbing Raymond and Gary while they were away, I decided to wait until they returned to address the incident in person. When they arrived the next day, cheerful from their trip, the atmosphere quickly shifted as they sensed the tension between Patricia and me. Raymond, sensing something was off, approached me for answers, but I asked for some time before going into detail. Seizing the moment, Patricia quickly engaged Raymond in conversation, presumably to discuss the prenup, oblivious to the confrontation that had occurred in their absence. We were on the brink of a revelation, each of us holding pieces of a story that had yet to unfold. Not long after, Patricia called for Raymond. He descended the stairs, visibly upset and frustrated, holding the controversial document in hand. "What's this all about, Dad? Did you know about these papers?" he demanded, referring to the post-nuptial agreement his mother had orchestrated. Gary, taken aback, genuinely knew nothing of the scheme. "What papers are you talking about, Raymond? What postnup?" he asked, bewildered by the sudden tension. "It's a ridiculous postnup Mom cooked up for Amber and me," Raymond explained, clearly finding the entire situation absurd and unjustifiable. Gary immediately clarified, "Raymond, I'm completely out of the loop here. I have no idea what this is about." His confusion and surprise were palpable as he turned his gaze toward Patricia, seeking an explanation. Cornered, Patricia defended her actions under the guise of protection. "I'm doing this for your own good, Raymond. Your wife isn't going to bring anything but trouble. She's just after your money," Patricia accused, labeling Amber a gold digger and insinuating she had fabricated a story about an inheritance to ensnare Raymond. Shocked by his mother's harsh words, Raymond struggled to comprehend her twisted logic. "What does Amber's inheritance have to do with us? How can you say such things, Mom?" he asked, his confusion evident. Patricia doubled down, painting the grim picture of Amber exploiting Raymond and leaving him financially drained after a divorce. She urged him to sign the post-nuptial agreement and consider seeking a more financially suitable partner, further inflaming the situation. This accusation ignited a fire in Raymond. he vehemently defended Amber, joined by Gary, marking a rare moment of unity against Patricia's manipulations. It was a turning point for me, witnessing Raymond stand up for our relationship and dispelling any fears about his loyalty. What they both didn't know was that the truth about my inheritance had come through the day before, a detail I hadn't shared amidst the chaos. As the argument subsided, Raymond's gaze met mine, filled with questions and concern. Amber, why did you agree to sign that post-nup? You should have waited for me. You know I'd never support such a thing. Why let Mom pressure you into this? His disappointment was evident, but it was mingled with a genuine desire to understand and rectify the situation together. I reassured Raymond, I never doubted you would request such a thing. You've always supported me unconditionally. I intended to discuss the post-nup with you, but I never got the chance. I explained how Patricia had trapped me in her room, her grip unyielding, until I reluctantly signed the document. My lack of choice was clear. I had been coerced into giving my signature. Raymond and Gary were visibly shocked by my account, especially since Patricia didn't even attempt to refute my claims. Instead, she appeared almost smug about her actions, which only fueled the outrage in my husband and father-in-law. Their disbelief quickly turned to anger as they noticed the marks on my arm. What have you done to Amber? How could you lay hands on my wife? This is assault, Raymond exclaimed, while Gary condemned Patricia's actions as madness. Patricia tried to justify her behavior by claiming she was protecting her son from being taken advantage of, insisting she acted out of maternal instinct. But Raymond countered her claims with disgust, emphasizing that his marriage to me had never been about financial gain. Still clinging to her delusions of a wealthier life, Patricia lamented Raymond's supposed promise to elevate their living standards. Patricia believed that marrying into wealth was the only way to achieve the life she desired. This assertion only deepened the divide, prompting Raymond and Gary to challenge her greed and her disregard for the values that truly mattered to them. The argument escalated as both men confronted her harmful actions, and gradually her obstinance began to crack under the weight of their unified stance. It became clear that she was realizing her actions had crossed a line far beyond what was defensible. Cornered and recognizing that Gary and Raymond were not on her side, Patricia resorted to tears, attempting to sway them with an emotional outburst. She cried, claiming her actions were for the betterment of the family and insisting she deserved a better life for all her sacrifices, including providing them with a home. She portrayed herself as the victim wronged by those she had sheltered. Raymond responded with a reality check, reminding her that their living arrangement was mutually beneficial. He highlighted that he and I were the ones financially supporting the household, not the other way around. Fed up with her manipulative tactics, he declared that they would move out and cease all financial support, signaling a drastic change prompted by her actions. Gary, too, had reached his limit. Years of enduring Patricia's greed had worn him thin, especially now that she had resorted to aggression and manipulation against me. Offering a lifeline, he suggested that he could leave with us, disassociating himself from Patricia's toxic behavior and affirming his support, not for her actions, but for us, his family by choice. Unfazed, Patricia mocked our ability to survive without her, predicting a grim future for us living in substandard conditions. Her taunts were meant to belittle and undermine our decision, banking on the assumption of our financial instability. It was then that I chose to reveal the truth, countering her bleak predictions with confidence. Housing and supporting us won't be an issue, I calmly stated, challenging her narrative of financial doom. Still entrenched in her delusions, Patricia laughed off my assertion, labeling me a gold digger who was incapable of providing for Raymond and Gary without her. Her scorn was palpable, yet it was based on outdated information. I corrected Patricia's assumption. Far from the broke individual she had painted me to be, I was neither financially destitute nor a gold digger. My choice to remain silent about my financial status had been intentional, not a necessity, and it was time she understood the reality she had so grossly misjudged. In that moment, I revealed, actually, I'm quite well off thanks to the $35 million I have access to. While not all of it is liquid, there's more than enough to go around. The surprise in the room was palpable, especially for Patricia, who was clearly taken aback by this sudden shift in my financial narrative. Patricia, bewildered, challenged me, but you said there was no inheritance. You lied. I responded, A bit wearily, Patricia, your nagging was exhausting. I made a flippant remark about not having an inheritance without expecting it to unveil your true intentions. Honestly, I'm thankful for that joke now. It showed me who you really are. This revelation left Patricia scrambling, her mind racing for ways to mend our fractured relationship. She attempted to downplay her earlier hostility, laughing it off as she claimed, "Oh, Amber, you trickster. We could have avoided so much misunderstanding if only you had told us earlier." I countered firmly, "Really, Patricia? If I had clarified it was a joke, you wouldn't have pushed for that postnuptial agreement or tried to sabotage my marriage, would you?" Her attempts to retract her actions, claiming she had gotten carried away and admitting her rudeness while tearing up the postnuptial agreement, were too little, too late. "Patricia, it's clear now that you shouldn't concern yourself with my inheritance. Our relationship can't be mended so easily. If Raymond is still on board with moving out and cutting ties, I fully support that decision." This moment marked a turning point for me, emphasizing my independence and readiness to move forward without the strain of Patricia's manipulative tactics. I prioritized my well-being and my relationship with Raymond over any financial entanglement with her. Raymond made it clear, "We're moving out, Amber. My mother's greed knows no bounds, and I refuse to let her exploit you any further. We'll leave by the end of the month, and Dad's coming with us." This decision was unanimous. Raymond and I had already begun house hunting and found the perfect place an hour away. Securing a house and planning a move within a month might seem daunting, but our financial stability made the process smooth and efficient. Gary decided to join us, ready to step into a new chapter of his life as he initiated divorce proceedings against Patricia. His decision came independently, driven by the events that had unfolded, and he filed for divorce within the same month we planned to move. Desperate and cornered, Patricia pleaded with us to reconsider, trying to elicit sympathy through tears and apologies. However, her financial predicament only compounded her woes. Without a personal income and with Gary's financial dependence on Raymond, neither was eligible for alimony. Ironically, Gary was entitled to half of Patricia's house, as it was acquired during their marriage, leading to the very outcome she had feared and tried to avoid by meddling in our finances. She would have to sell her home. The divorce process dragged on for a year, marked by mandatory separation periods and Patricia's visible distress over her dwindling finances. She was forced to expedite the sale of her house for survival. After the divorce was finalized and their assets settled, Gary opted for a modest apartment, valuing his independence and wishing not to impose on our new life. We continued to support him financially, able to do so comfortably. While tumultuous, this series of events reinforced our family bonds, underscoring the importance of integrity, support, and the true value of relationships over material gain.